I know the biggest barrier that you're facing at the moment when it comes down to your fat loss journey is the thought that you fucked up every single time you have an off-plan meal. Every single time you have a social event, you have that fear that you fucked up, you've messed up your results, that you're back to square one all over again. And I understand it because of being in your shoes before. When you see that spike on the scales the following day, the mind starts to run wild. That's where it then leads into excess decision making of ordering takeaways. With that mindset of you've already messed up, so I may as well carry on. Well, that is certainly not the case, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you within this video as well, is how one social event and how one off-plan meal has in fact not ruined anything to do with your weight loss goals whatsoever as well. And it's super important because I believe that this is by far the biggest barrier that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment. And most men and women that I speak to on a day-to-day, this is the main reason. This is the main reason that they're actually not seeing out their fat loss transformation altogether. So let's run through a little bit of a quick explanation together. So first things first, if you were to go off plan, right, it would take you around 3,000. It would take for you to eat around 3,500 calories over your maintenance to gain 1 pound of body fat. So if we have a little bit of a look at this, right, so if your maintenance is 2,000 per day, let's just say give or take, it could be higher, it could be lower. That would mean, obviously, if we add 3,500 to this, that is a 5,500 calorie day of eating you would need to gain 1 pound of body fat in a day, in one day. So let's run through a little bit of an example of this, and hopefully that gives you a perspective of, yes, of course that can be done, but it's such a slim chance that happens. So let's say that you are going on a meal out of an evening time, a little bit of food, a little bit of drinks, right? So I think where a lot of people start to worry is they know in their mind that they've ate over their calorie deficit number, right? So let's just put this into perspective. So let's say you are going out for a meal out at 6 p.m, let's say on a Saturday, right? Let's say your maintenance again is 2,000 calories. So let's just pop that there as maintenance. Let's say you head out that day and you've consumed 700 calories eaten before you've headed out. So you've consumed already 700 calories of your maintenance within that day so far, right? So straight away, that leaves you with nearly 1,300 calories before you've even hit your maintenance. So let's say, for example, you go to, let's say, a steak restaurant, for example, right? Let's say, give or take, you have a starter, 500 calories. Let's just say that. So that therefore brings us already up to 1,200 calories. So let me just go to that there. 1,200 calories, and you've had the starter there, right? So let's say your main meal then is 1,000 calories. So your main meal is 1,000 calories. And this doesn't just have to be for a steak restaurant, by the way. This can be for any meal out whatsoever. So as you'll be able to see, altogether so far, day eaten in terms of food-wise has been 2,200 calories. Okay, so let's say you add an additional, let's say 1,000 calories due to drinks. So 1,000 calories drinks. So as you'll be able to see, now we're starting to do the maths, it may start to make sense. So if we add those two together, so drinks and food, off this one social event or one off-plan meal, drinks plus food equals 3,200 calories. So as you'll be able to see, you are now in a surplus of calories by 1,000, just 1,000 calories, right? So 1,000 done and dusted for the day. That is if you were to not move, if you weren't to exercise, you weren't to do absolutely anything whatsoever. So let's say within that day, you've went to the gym, you've burned 300 to 400 calories within the gym. Let's say that there, gym, 300 to 400 calories burned, right? So let's just say that was the example. Let's say you walked 8 to 10k steps per day. So steps, 400 calories to 500 calories burnt. So if we were to add those calories that you burnt on top of your maintenance, that would then take you to around 2,900 calories burnt in a day. That's through your body's BMR and the calories that you burnt in excess through the day as well. So as you'll be able to see, now you are only left in, if we look at that, right, 3,200, taken away 2,900, we are now in a surplus of only 300 calories. So this is why that one-off plan meal doesn't mean you've ruined your progress. It doesn't mean that you've messed up. It doesn't mean that you fucked up. Don't get me wrong, if you, let's say, maybe go a little bit too far and you know, have like 3 starters, main meal, a dessert, then you go home and have something else, you continue eating as normal. Let's say you have a McDonald's before you even a meal out. There is a high chance that could be really high. But if we look at this and we look at how we normally manage it, let's say we have a small little bit of a bite to eat earlier in the day and we enjoy our social events in the evening time, the chances that we've actually gained any form of weight off the back of this is very, very slim. If you were to be in a 300 calorie surplus a day, it would take you around 12 days to gain 1 pound. So in one day, you've not even touched the surface. Not even touched the surface. It's the same way that I've already linked back to eating one salad. If you ate one salad, you wouldn't expect to be at the leanest you've ever been before. So it's important to remember that one off-plan meal has not ruined your progress whatsoever. So this is where a lot of people's mindset sort of slips, because the next day, let's say your weighing was, let's say 80 kilo, very wonky 80 by the way, 80 kg, due to water retention, right? So let's say we have went for, let's use an Italian for example, right? Or it can still be a steak place, right? High carbohydrates. We normally tend to get a side of chips, you know, maybe some veg. And if it was obviously an Italian, it always tends to be bread based. We normally tend to hold around 2 to 4 grams of water per gram of carbohydrates that we consume. So let's say the following day after your social event, right, that scale goes to 82 kg. You sit there and you go, I've ruined it. I've messed up. I've gained 2 kilo off that meal out. No, you haven't. You've gained around 2 kilo of water. That's all that matters there as well, because not only is this potentially water retention due to a increase in carbohydrates, and same thing with this when it comes down to meals out, we can't really understand how many carbs are within that meal. Yes, we can take a guess, but because we may not know the macros and the calories, we may be a little bit unsure on that. So that pizza that you've had could be 100 to 200 gram of carbs. Who knows? So as you can imagine, if you're only used to eating 150 gram of carbs in a day and you consume 350, that is more than your body is used to. And then, of course, as you can see on top of that, if you're consuming extra calories within a day compared to what you've been eating within your deficit, let's say 1,000 calories more food. As you can now see, that's 1,000 calories more food that your body needs to digest. So that 1,000 calories could be a kilo of excess food that you've consumed. So as you'll be able to see now, the body needs to break that down and digest that. So, of course, the more food within your body, the slower your digestive system is. And for a lot of us as well, once we have meals out, we sort of tend to feel that. So this number here, 82 kilo, isn't actually your honest weighing. We're holding a lot of water retention due to probably more than likely higher carbohydrates. Also, the excess calories that we've consumed, as you can see, that's not even touched the surface in regards to making us gain weight. All that has done, it's excess food that our body maybe isn't used to digesting. So it'll take a little bit longer for that to digest through the body and for the body to work through that digestive actual process as well. But as always, what tends to happen, if you don't respond well and you, let's say, continue to eat 3,000 calories a day, right? Or let's say you can, let me just rub that out. Let's say you go, oh, well, okay, it doesn't really matter. And then you stop tracking your calories, you go very, very careless with it. Let's say you do end up consuming 3,200 calories a day because, you know, there's no point, you've already messed up. As you can see, if your steps then slip and your training then slips, you know, you could be putting yourself in a surplus of, let's say give or take 500 to 700 calories per day. If you allow your training to slip, your nutrition to slip, your steps to slip, just because of that one social event. As you can see here, over a week you could gain a pound. Over 10 days you could gain that weight back, and that is what will make the scales actually go from 80 to 82 long term. That is what will cause that. However, if you respond straight away, if you respond in a positive way, and you get back to your current, let's say you are eating at 1,600 calories and your maintenance is 2,000, right? And let's say, let me just put that there, that's your deficit calories. This may actually resonate with a couple of you watching this. 1,600 calorie deficit, you go straight back to that, you go straight back to your steps, straight back to your training. Therefore, the following day, the calories that you've actually overconsumed on, and you've actually went into a surplus of, if we flick it back, you potentially went into a surplus of 300. The following day, if you go back to basics, if your maintenance calories is 2,000, as you can see, the surplus that you were in, you've actually went into a bigger deficit the following day. So therefore, no body weight is being gained. Nothing at all. What does happen, as I mentioned here, is if you continue to do that over a cumulative period of time. How I always like to look at it as well is when I've had an off-plan meal is, do I want to gain weight off the back of this? No. Well, if so, let's go back to basics. It's this number that affects so many people. The number on the scale that affects so many people. But if you go back to your deficit, back to your step count, and also back to your training, I guarantee you over the 7-day period, because it can take anywhere between like 3 to 7 days to help the body get rid of any excess water retention. I guarantee you, where you spike from 80 to 82, I guarantee you that probably goes 82 down to, let's say, 79.5 by the end of the week. I promise you, and I guarantee that as well. So next time you have that social event, next time you have the off-plan meal, next day you have a higher day with food, respond in a positive way. This is exactly how I went through a 5.5 stone weight loss journey while traveling in Southeast Asia, while having numerous meals out. Over the last 10 weeks, in fact, I've dropped 9 kilo on a 10-week mini cut while enjoying myself in Amsterdam, Tenerife, but also having my own birthday and Father's Day within there as well, because I've always responded well. So with that being said, hopefully this helps, and with seeing the numbers here, it shows you that, in fact, that one meal out that you have had, yes, it may have spiked the scales the following day, but 2 big reasons why. Slower digestion, higher amount of carbohydrates consumed, which leads to higher amount of water retention, which therefore, if you respond in a positive way, get back to your deficit the following day. That rhyme, but it wasn't supposed to. We'll be able to see that scales start to drop back down as well over the next couple of days as well. We always hold water off the back of these events. Our body is natural. That is what the body does. So next time that happens, respond well. Respond positively, not negatively, and I guarantee that you'll thank me later, but also thank yourself later. Let's go.